What up, Pistons fans? Welcome back to another episode. So, as you probably already noticed, no chant tonight. No chant tonight. The Pistons fall tonight to the Denver Nuggets, 134-121 on the final game of their road trip, and they move to 14-18 overall on the season. So, this game was a winnable game, but I knew coming into this game the Pistons were going to have to bring their best effort, and it just wasn't there tonight. The Pistons lost to a championship-level team with the best player in the world on it, and a very good Robin. So first things first, Isaiah Stewart missed the last 4 games with a hyperextended knee, but he did return to action tonight, and the Nuggets were without Aaron Gordon as well. So initial thoughts, right? Let's start with Denver, man. Denver is a very good basketball team. Joker is ridiculous. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world. He's just the best player in the world. I think he's been the best player in the world for a few years now, and it's the reason why. He's just, in my opinion, the most complete basketball player in the league. The things he can do with his size offensively are just ridiculous. And defensively, he's not the best player in the world, but he is at least an average defender, and he's very crafty and very smart. And the Nuggets have one of the best Robins in the league. Jamal Murray is a beast. He's been one of my favorite players to watch. I've been watching him for years now. Ever since the bubble season when he and Jokic came back against the Clippers, down 3-1 to win that series in 7 and go on to give the Lakers a very tough matchup in the Western Conference Finals the year they won, Murray balled out. And tonight, he did the same thing, man. Denver is actually one of my favorite non-Pistons team in the league to watch. So I knew this was not going to be an easy game. The game started off pretty even. It was pretty back and forth in the first half. The Pistons played to their identity, which is physicality defensively and spreading the offense out offensively and getting out in transition. The Pistons actually led most of the first half, but they did not close the first half well at all. And they found themselves down 6 at halftime after leading most of the first half. The Pistons' transitional defense also was not great. It was not great tonight. And the Nuggets took advantage of that, and they were getting run out after run out after run out, easy buckets all night long. But despite that, the Pistons were still in this game in the first half. Second half, though, is when things really went downhill. Things got a little chippy in the second half, and you can probably guess if you didn't see this game who was at the center of it. Of course, it was Russell Westbrook and Isaiah Stewart. And it all started when there was a dead ball foul, and Russ still tried to go for a shot, and Stu wouldn't let him get it off. And Russ didn't like that, obviously. And so he and Stu started yapping at each other. And Russ was doing Russ things, saying things to get under guys' skin, and it worked. He baited Cade into an offensive foul and a technical foul. He also baited Stu into a technical foul. And Stu actually responded to Russ's yapping by getting up in his face and telling him that he beat his tail. And I'm censoring because we got kids watching, right? And you got to remember too, though, that these two have history. When LeBron caught Stu with that punch a couple years ago at LCA and Stu was trying to chase him down, Russ caught himself capping and front running, squaring up with 5 Lakers in between him and Isaiah Stewart. I'm sure Stu hasn't forgotten that, and I'm sure that's probably part of why he told him that. But after that, you could just feel the momentum shift in Denver's direction. And also adding on to that, I noticed in the third quarter that both Cade and Jaden were both benched for an extended period of time, and that usually doesn't happen. We've heard JB Bickerstaff on numerous occasions say that he wants to try to keep at least one of those guys on the court at all times. And tonight, the game really got away when they were both on the bench. And I'm not really sure why they were both on the bench for extended minutes in the third quarter. And you could really see how the effect of both of them being out affected the Pistons. The Pistons kept turning the ball over at the point of attack, leading to easy run-out layups and dunks for the Nuggets. And that's honestly part of why the Nuggets put up, wait for it, 47 points in the third quarter. And Cade and Jaden being out for an extended period of time is also part of why the Pistons shot 1 for 8 from 3 in the third quarter. I just don't understand why they were both on the bench. So I wouldn't check to see how many fouls they had. Cade had 3, Jaden had 0. So even if JB was worried about Cade's foul trouble, there really was no reason for Jaden to be on the bench for that same reason. So I don't really understand what happened there. And in my opinion, that was a big part of why this game got away, because the offense just looked bad without either one of them in the game. And by the end of the quarter, the Nuggets were basically up 20 points. And the game was essentially over. The Pistons bench did make it interesting late. Guys like Ron Holland, Marcus Sasser, Asar, of course, and Paul Reed, they came in and gave the Pistons effort, right? And they cut the lead down to 7 late in the fourth quarter, but the deficit was just too large. They pretty much had to play perfect basketball at that point to even have a chance to win the game, and it just didn't happen. Let's get to the box. So Cade has 17 points, 8 assists, 2 rebounds, 3 turnovers, on 7 for 18 shooting, 1 of 8 from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. So Cade struggled tonight with a shot. Right, he was aggressive early, as always. The last few games, we've seen him be aggressive, trying to set a tone for how the game was going to be played. And tonight, he just couldn't get it going. Right, he was trying, but he just could not get a shot going, his offense going the way he wanted to, the way he's been able to get it going. And that happens sometimes. I'm not going to fault him for that. He had an off night. Jaden Ivey has 17 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 turnovers on 7 for 9 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3. 1-on-1 from the free throw line. So Jaden played efficient tonight. Most other starters didn't play a ton of minutes because midway through the third quarter, the game was basically over. And he only played 21 minutes, right? But in that time, he did play very, very well. He had a few unforced turnovers where the ball just kind of got away from him, but that's not usually characteristic of him, so I'm not too concerned about that. But he played well. He was able to get to the rim whenever he wanted to. His three ball continues to look good, 2 of 3 again. So his three-point percentage is continuing to rise. He's continuing to get better and better. And Jaden has become much more efficient of a basketball player since he's been playing. He's been picking the spots a whole lot better. He's not forcing things nearly as much, and his pacing is getting much better, understanding when to go and when to pull back. So I'm really liking the growth that we're continuing to see from Jay, and he's really seemed to figure some things out offensively, and that's really, really good to see. And defensively, his cover tonight for most of the game was Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook had 8 points. Jaden held Russell in check tonight, and Jaden's kind of built to do that because he's built similar to Russell Westbrook. He's 1 inch taller at 6'4", Russell's 6'3", and he's strong enough and fast enough to stay in front of him and to not allow himself to get bullied by him, right? Jaden is very strong. We know Russell is strong, but Jaden is very strong. Jaden's a tank, and he's very fast. He's built very similar to Russ. So that makes it difficult for an aging Russell Westbrook, who still has athleticism, but not nearly what he used to have, when he's being defended by a guy in Jaden Ivey who has the athleticism and speed and strength that Russell used to have. So Jaden made it tough on him for that reason, and that's why Russell was not really able to get off tonight. But he didn't even have to, because guys like Jokic and Murray put up 37 and 34 respectively. So they carried much of the offense tonight, and Russell Westbrook was not needed. But the point is that Jaden Ivey is showing that he has the measurables and the potential to be a great two-way player, the same way we say Cade Cunningham could also be a great two-way player. Jalen Duren had 12 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, 5 for 8 shooting, 2 of 4 from the free throw line. I want to see more than 7 boards, but overall he played solid. He still has a long way to go defensively. Tonight I saw some defensive lapses again from him, but the energy and the effort was there. Early in the season with JD, I would see defensive lapses, and I would just see lackadaisical mindset. I would see him not locked in. I would see him giving up easy offensive rebounds. I would see him not challenging shots. I would see him not looking to offensive rebound, effort things, right? So execution-wise, he still has a long way to go as far as understanding defensive schemes and understanding where he needs to be defensively and how to guard defensively. But the effort has been a constant from him, and so I can live with that. It's not great, but it's something that he can build off of. But JD had one sequence in the first half that really can't happen. At the free throw line, he had back-to-back line violations. That can't happen. And so a free throw goes up, the ref calls line violation because his foot is on the line. Your foot cannot be on the line during your free throw, otherwise you get called for a violation. That really should never happen. You should always just have your feet accounted for when you're lining up on the free throw line. It shouldn't happen once, but it happened once. For it to happen again right after that shows a lack of focus. It shows a lack of focus. For it to happen twice, that's inexcusable. That just can't happen. It cannot happen. It shows that you are not locked into the basketball game. Your mind is somewhere else, because it didn't happen in the first quarter and in the fourth quarter. It happened on the first free throw, in the second free throw. So that just can't happen. And that just shows on JD's part a lack of being locked in and a lack of focus. And that's not what you want to see from a guy who's trying to develop consistency as far as his approach to the game. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 8 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 2 of 3 shooting, 1 of 1 from 3, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. So not terrible, but not really a lot from Tim tonight, only 8 points. Tim only played 18 minutes, so he didn't give us a ton of production, but when he was in the game, he was pretty efficient. He did have a nice pass to Jaden on the cut to the basket, but aside from that, we didn't really get too much from Tim tonight. He gave you a few buckets here and there, and defensively, he gave effort, but it wasn't really that impactful. And while we're on the subject of impact, Tobias Harris, we need to have a serious conversation again about Tobias Harris. We've had this conversation in the last couple games now, and we need to have it again. I've never been one to pass judgment or draw conclusions off of one game, no matter how good or bad it is. But I've been watching Tobias Harris closely on this 4-game West Coast trip. And let's look at his stat lines from this West Coast trip. Against the Suns, he had 10 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists on 3-5 shooting. Against the Lakers, he had 6 points, 1 rebound, 4 assists on 3 of 10 shooting. Against the Kings, he had 4 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists on 1 of 7 shooting. And tonight against the Nuggets, he had 7 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist on 2 of 6 shooting. I don't see how Tobias Harris lasts in the starting lineup for much longer. He's just not impactful as a starter on either end of the floor. And the reason I say either end is because early in the season when he wasn't scoring, he was at least rebounding. but now he's just doing a little bit more than getting cardio. I mentioned earlier how Jokic and Murray were responsible for most of the Nuggets offense, but there was another guy who got off tonight. Michael Porter Jr. had 26 points tonight on 9 of 14 shooting, 5 of 7 from 3. And he was cooking tonight. And a lot of that was with Tobias Harris guarding him. Michael Porter Jr. did not look uncomfortable at all. And Tobias Harris kept leaving him open for 3. If Ron Holland or Ashar Thompson had been guarding him, this game could have been very different. Tobias needs to be a scorer off the bench with a second unit. Because once again, he is not a defensive tone setter. We talk about it all the time. The Pistons are trying to develop an identity of defense first. They need to come into games looking to set a tone, set a defensive tone. It's why I like Isaiah Stewart so much, because even though he's not a starter, when he comes into the game, he sets a tone. Even Ashar Thompson, when he comes into the game, he sets a tone. Tobias Harris does not set a tone. He doesn't set an offensive tone or a defensive tone. He's just kind of there, and he's really hurting the Pistons defensively. There's just certain things you can't do with him on the floor defensively because he's not a great defensive player. And offensively, the things they're trying to do are not effective because he's not knocking down shots and defenses are not respecting him. So on either end of the floor, he's not really helping you. If the Pistons want to move forward as far as creating an identity and setting a tone defensively, it has to be with either Ashar Thompson or Ron Holland in the starting lineup. It just has to be. I've talked about before how Tim Hardaway Jr. also may be another starter to look at as far as replacing. But to me, the most glaring player right now is Tobias Harris, because Jalen Duren is in the process of trying to find his way of who he's going to be defensively. So we can't afford to have an undersized 4 who doesn't give you anything on either end of the court. You just can't afford to do it. I'm looking for the Pistons, hopefully at some point, to insert either Ron Holland or Ashar Thompson. I would like to say both, but I don't think both are quite ready yet. One of those two absolutely need to be starting. I'm leaning towards Ashar because I feel like the playmaking ability that he has, he can make things a little bit easier for guys like Cade and Jaden offensively. And defensively, he can help JD on the boards because he's a great rebounder for his size. And we already know that we're undersized with Tim Hardaway Jr. playing the 3, and he's only 6'4". So Ashar would give you playmaking offensively, and then also defensively, he would give you versatility and his ability to turn defense into offense. So I'm leaning towards Ashar, but I won't mind seeing either one of those guys inserted because they're both at least going to bring you that defensive intensity. Speaking of Ashar, let's get to his stat line. 10 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 turnover, on 5 for 8 from the field in 24 minutes. Ashar Thompson is a very impactful player, man. Very impactful player. We talked about it already, but just the versatility he gives you on both sides of the court. He truly is a Swiss Army knife on both sides of the ball, man. There was one play where on a pick and roll, he stole the drop pass that was intended for Jokic and pushed the ball and let the break for easy Pistons run out. He just does a little bit of everything for you. And that's why I feel like once he does get his conditioning and his win back, he may be the guy to be in the starting lineup. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention his highlight play. Y'all saw it. Denver Nuggets forward Peyton Watson is a very, very athletic player. He's built a lot like Ashar. Quick, wiry, fast, right? But Ashar crossed him up off the dribble and put him on a poster. From where he took off from, it didn't look like he should have been able to throw that down. But he just kept elevating and elevating and elevating. He is extremely athletic. He's quick, he's fast, and his bounce is crazy because he doesn't just get off the ground fast. He stays in the air for a long time. And as Peyton Watson was coming down from trying to block the shot, Ashar just kept ascending and he threw it on his head. I can't wait until he's back at full speed because I think he's just going to make things so much easier for the other 4 starters on this basketball team whenever he is ready. Let's get to the bench. So Malik Beasley had 14 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist on 5 of 11 from the field, 3 of 9 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. So he was solid. He did miss some assignments defensively tonight, and we know he's not a great defender, but there were a few plays where he just kind of fell asleep. So that's something to keep an eye on too. But I mean, offensively, with what he's giving you off the bench, you really can't complain too much with Beasley. Ron Holland had 12 points and 2 rebounds on 5 of 9 shooting, 1 of 1 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. So once again, a lot of the points that were scored by the bench was I don't want to say garbage time, but it was when the game was pretty much decided. They did make a push late, but they couldn't get it closer to 7 points by the end of the game. So it was good to see the effort from these guys. I like to see that these guys have a never say die attitude, but the deficit was just too big for them to try to come back from. But they did give effort. Paul Reed came in and gave you some effort. He had 7 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, 4 steals, 1 block. So these guys play hard. They play tough, man, but it just wasn't enough. That third quarter really did them in, and they just weren't able to make it all the way back. So with all of that being said, I want to make sure that we keep things in perspective. This was a stinker tonight. The Pistons just didn't play well collectively enough for long enough to win this game. But let's not overreact. And here's why I say that. If I told you a week ago that the Pistons would play the Suns, the Lakers, the Kings, and the Nuggets on a 4-game Western Conference road trip, wouldn't you be happy if they came out of that 3-1? Personally, I would have been happy with a 2-2 split. So let's keep things in perspective. Do the Pistons need to keep improving? Yes. Do the Pistons need to make changes to their starting lineup and roster overall? Yes. But are the Pistons showing growth? Absolutely. They're not going to win every game. Think about it. Many fans didn't even expect the Pistons to win 25 games this season, so you can't expect them to win every single game. It's just one game. But what is encouraging though is that they're still playing competitive basketball despite the glaring weaknesses they have in their starting five and their roster as a whole. So let's just see how they respond when they come back home against the Magic on New Year's Day. But what did you guys see in tonight's game that I may have missed? Let me know in the comments and let's talk about it. I hope everybody has a happy and safe new year. And don't worry, Pistons fans, early 2025 is going to be a lot better than early 2024. I can pretty much guarantee you that. Appreciate you hanging with your boy. And as always, Detroit versus everybody. See y'all next year.
Dress up, bless up, step up and get it. Lace up, face up, I'm here to win it. It's for my city, and the team coming with me. Headed for the championship, even if the road is long. Legends pave the way for us. Nothing in this world can take it from us. Don't underestimate our generation when you see us coming for you.